So it's been a little while. I'd like to start off by quickly apologizing about my lack of presence on social media and how much longer all of this has taken to get done. It was really stupid for me to try and do a batch of 16 knives when the most I've ever done in a single batch was 6 before. So to anyone who has orders still that are being worked on, I promise you they will get done. I will get them done. If it kills me, if it actually kills me, I will do it. It's just going to take a while, and the fact that I'm in school right now is making it take longer than it is making it take even longer than it should. Like, I'm able to get maybe one knife done, maybe. I don't want to even say a time because that's probably not even going to be accurate because something's going to happen. But this one took me like 3 weekends, and it was supposed to only take me 1 to do. So. But winter break's coming up, so I should be able to get stuff done. But anyways, now that all that bullshit's aside, I would like to spend this time talking about mostly this knife, and these other 3 as sort of tertiary. So I'll get those out of the way. So this one here, it's one of the hardest knives I think I've ever made. It's fairly basic as far as the options go. Titanium bolster, carbon fiber, fairly standard. Lots of guys have done that. It's marbled carbon fiber, my first time working with it. I'm not really a fan of this stuff because it has tons of voids in it. Just by it's not a problem with the manufacturer, the material itself. It's just inherent to the way it's made that it has voids. I try to minimize it, but it was tough, really tough. I think I got most of them out, but there's still some that have been very, very stubborn, and I talked with the guy about. He said just leave them. So I did this. It's got a curved bolster line, as you can see, and the fit is not dead on perfect, but it is very, very, very close. And consider the only machine tools that I have are my dad's Skill drill press. I think it's a Skill. Yeah, I have that. I have a really not good bandsaw. That says a technical term, really not good. And I have a hand drill, and I have the little 1x30 Harbor Freight, and that's it. Those are the only machine tools I have. I don't have a surface grinder. I do all my surface grinding on the plate that's underneath this, and sandpaper, and that's it. So I think just a tiny little bit of a gap is fine. It is slightly beveled on the edges because I like that look a little better. It makes it look more professional, I think. This one turned out really nice, really professional looking, but it still has all the kind of features that I like to put in a knife. Sorry for bumping the camera. Where the edges are really nicely rounded, both on the outside and the inside, which is a critical thing that a lot of guys seem to completely forget. And it's really, really important and useful as far as a knife's functionality goes. Pretty much every surface has been hit on. Guy wanted more like smooth. I was thinking smooth contoured on this side. He wanted this big finger choil, which is kind of, I'll be completely honest, it's useless. It has no real function, but he likes the way it looks, and it is his knife, so his rules. I really like the lock bar cut on this, just because it's actually like professional. It looks really professional. It's really nicely done. There seems to be a shadow there. That's not a shadow. That's just oil. That'll fill in with age and wear and such. Sculpted titanium clip screwed from the inside, as you can see, which I like to do. It gives a nice look. So you can see the blade is perfectly centered, and it comes to a needle point. That's not even sharpened either. The blade isn't sharpened yet. I'm a little nervous about sharpening it because this blade took so long to do. It's 160 thousandths thick ABL, treated by Peters, and around 61 and a half hardness. These were at 62 when I got them done by Peters, but that was a little too hard, so I tempered them back just a little bit. I like the steel a lot. It definitely performs very nicely, and it sharpens like instantly. I can't snap, but I still do it when I'm, yeah. It sharpens like instantly, and it gets very, very sharp. And this one's just about dead on everywhere. Got a really strong detent like the guy wanted. Really snaps open with authority. And the lockup, as you can hear, no stick. Sits in a perfect spot. It engages really nicely, but it's not late, it's not early. It's a really good medium, which I like a lot. It engages the blade not fully. There is a little bit more thickness that I could make it move over if I wanted to. But this is a good spot because you can still get in there and unlock it very comfortably. But it's also not going to fail, not easily. It's not going to have problems with shearing like these kinds of locks can have. And the lock face was also forged as well, so that helps its longevity as well. There's like an over travel plate that's titanium, and you can see it's got really steep kind of faceting, and it lines up with the slot in the pivot, which was requested. This side of the frame was all nicely beveled, which it looks angular and uncomfortable, but it's not, because all these edges have been really I spent a lot of time and got them really nicely rounded, both on the outside and the inside, which again, so many custom makers fail to do. I don't know why. Really nicely cut out on the inside. Kind of hard to see with shadows. Lighting is not the best in my workshop. You can see there just how far cut out that is, and it's like that edge rounded, this edge, every edge has been done, and really nicely cut out there too. Very comfortable. And the pressure, I've struggled with my frame locks before and them having too much pressure. This one's perfect. It's at a good pressure, it's firm, it's confident, but it's not what's the word? It's not obnoxious. It's still quite compliant. And that blade really just rips. It's fast. Like, I've handled RJ Martins and such, and this isn't that fast. It isn't that fast just because of the sheer mass and size of it, but it is very sprightly. And the detent is very, very good. It's quite stiff. Takes a good bit of pressure before it finally breaks. The blade is a hand-rubbed satin finish, which I have done before, and take a long time to do. On this AEBL, though, it's not bad. It is basically just about flawless. As flawless as you can get for being a schmuck like me. It's so flawless, actually, that I wanted to. Hopefully it's focusing in on it. Maybe that's a little better. I tried to get this, you can probably see the plunge on the top swedge. I tried to get that as angled as possible. This was about the most I can get, and even this was tough. It was so bad that I just roughed out the material on the grinder, and then it looked so bad. It was gouged and shit that the only way I could make it look good was if I hand sanded it completely smooth. Basically ground it by hand with sandpaper, and this is what it turned out to be. It's very even. The sides are not identical, but they're pretty close. And the cross section is quite visceral. Well, I guess this is almost like a dagger up here, is how visceral that point is. And the swedge is so drastic, and it's so thin up top. Not sharpened, of course, it's a false edge, but you can see just how thin that is. He also wanted grooves in the blade, not blood grooves, fullers. There's the technical term is a fuller. These are my first time doing them. I think next time it'd be a lot easier. Each of these took me like 2 hours or so to finish. Each one, and the blade has 4. And there was a lot of other complications finishing up the blade as well. So this was a huge pain in the ass. Like, to the point where I just want to get it gone so I never have to look at it anymore. But the detent is good. If you can hear it, probably won't come through on camera, but when it snaps, there's a brief ting where it reverberates. It doesn't rattle or anything. And it's very solid. No close plate. Very, very solid here. and as I always like to do, I'm pulling on the tab right now, putting pressure, and the blade doesn't move at all. Very crisp. Exactly how I like it. If you put it up to your ear and close it really gently, you can hear the blade go ting. And that is the blade. Like some knives do that, but it's a lot of times it can be the clip, because the clip is free floating. Because a lot of makers will have the clip out like here, just resting, which makes no sense to me because that's useless. This is how it should be. It should be tight to the knife. Marbled carbon fiber. You can still see there's some voids in there. I could not get them to save my life, and I was trying so much and trying so hard to get them out that I started changing the shape of the scale too. So I decided that was probably enough. Actually, it was so much so that I had to inlay some carbon fiber, or not some carbon fiber, but some G10 as a liner next to the scale, which you might see. So yeah, that's it. This is Dale's knife, and it, Rapture was what we wanted to name it, which seems to fit the knife, and the name comes from BioShock. First, second game, I don't know if third is Infinite or not. I'm not too familiar on the series. But it's Dale's favorite video game, like, of all time. So I thought it'd be a nice touch for him as well. So yeah, that's Rapture. Blade isn't sharpened yet, but as you can see, you might be able to see some light reflecting from the edge. Edge is very thin. Like that, you can't see reflecting, but it's you might be able to see down to the base right there. It's very, very thin. In fact, it got so thin while I was hand sanding it that it was actually fully sharp. So it was a zero grind, a true zero grind. But I wanted it to have a little bit more durability, because zero grind is like 0,000 thickness behind the edge, and that's quite delicate. And for a knife with this thick a blade, probably would need something a little more robust. So I just very lightly sanded it off by hand, so that the edge is blunt now. It has thickened up very slightly, but now it'll still cut very, very well, but it will have measurable durability. Before, it would probably fail on almost anything, unless you're cutting very, very soft materials. Like, so paranoid about the hand rub satin. They look really good. I love the way they look, but the problem is, as soon as you go to cut anything, they get scratched. This one's only to 400 grit, to try and minimize that, but even still, it'll probably get all mucked up, and I refuse to cut anything with it, because I do not want to do this again. I will not tell you how long this took, but it was really long. It was really long. Alright, so that's Rapture. So that one, I would show the box right now, but I was having some complications with the polyurethane. It was a little more gummy than I wanted it to be. Still was able to figure out a way to make it work. It's just taking me some extra time, so the box isn't quite done yet. I will have this thing shipped. Today is the 10th, I believe. Check my phone. Yeah, it's the 10th. I will have this thing probably shipped on the 11th. Like on my way home from school, I'll stop at the post office and ship this thing. Box is almost done. It just needs one more coat on all sides but the bottom, and it needs the foam insert, and then I also need to print out the certificate for this, and it's done. Oh, sharpened too, and then it's done. It's finally done. This has been a mess doing this one. It took so long. So now that that's out of the way, these three. So two of these I've made. The other one is one I've modified. This is my personal carry knife I've had for the longest time. I'm going to be at the New York Custom Knife Show this coming November, and I'm going to bring this thing with me, but I want to dress it up a little bit because it kind of has some issues. The finish isn't very nice. I did this like a year ago. Like you can see, there's still some deep scratches in the blade, really ugly, and very dirty too because I use this thing quite a lot. I'm thinking I want to do either a two-tone blade or a fully blackened blade, and I'm unsure of what I want to do for the handles. I'm thinking like carbon fiber, Dayglow yellow, gray G10. I was also thinking I could do blasted titanium, red, ivory linden micarta. But if anyone has any suggestions on such, let me know. The knife's name is Stratocaster, based off Stratocaster guitars, where I get the name from. So yeah, if anyone has any suggestions, you feel free to let me know. I'll probably just consider my own, but in case anyone has anything good, I will definitely consider that. So there's that. And I'm gonna have this thing at the show as well if anyone wants to look. This is the first knife I've ever done at Damascus. It was finished. It's now not finished because I'm unhappy with it. And I did eventually decide to sell it to someone, even though I did make it for myself originally. You can see Damascus is really nice. And this is Alabama Damascus. It's the cleanest and sharpest looking etch I've seen on Alabama Damascus ever. And I've used this a little bit too. Like you can see some marks right there. Those two. This side, it has a bit of rust up near the tip, but the blade's going to get fully refinished. This side I like a lot because of that pattern and how it kind of starts off chaotic and then tapers off towards the tip. So yeah, I want to refinish this. But anyways, the problems I had with it were the fact that it's a carbon steel, and I wanted the Damascus pattern. I wanted to see it all the time. It will still form patina over it, and I didn't